Okay, hi everybody. This is my first experience with a virtual here, so I'm going to share my screen and see if everything goes okay. It's an honor to be here and be a part of the Advance the Field program. I'm not sure how I got into this. I think I missed a phone call and Richard, our friend Richard, volunteered me for it, but it's great to be here. Can you guys see my screen, Gwen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so my topic is really preventing sudden cardiac death at the community level, and it's a rather vast topic, but we're going to give you an overview and hopefully show some different essentials and maybe even inspire and motivate someone out there to go about and get into their community and work on some sudden death prevention. So I'd
Ryan,
like to start.
you're on your you're not on the first slide, so you might want to back up to your first slide.
Not on my first slide. This is my first slide.
It is?
Yep.
Okay, on the side it says slide number 8, community success, a common theme. That's where you want to be?
No, I want to be on the surviving sudden cardiac arrest, location.
Yeah, no.
So do enable editing there, Ryan, and then you can start your presentation.
If you open your PowerPoint to the first slide on your desktop and then start sharing, it should do that.
Well, I had it in the background here. Let me see if I can get it back up here. Now I've lost everybody.
We haven't lost you.
Can you still see me?
Yes.
Okay. How's that?
Can you share your screen again?
I can't get back on the
Ryan, if you hover towards the bottom of your screen, the options to be able to share screen and that tab will show up.
There you go. You're on the
How's
first
that?
slide too. Perfect.
I guess I should have made that practice. Okay, so here's my prevention of sudden cardiac arrest. We'll go through this. I apologize for that. And so I'd like to start with some data that came from that was originally published in JAMA in about 2008, and it looked at 10 different clinical sites across the United States and Canada to look at the out-of-hospital cardiac arrest incident and outcome. And what the data really showed was that there was about a 5-fold variation in across these 10 sites, which encompassed about 22 million people, and the study lasted over a year. And so in that variation, it showed that if you were lucky enough to, say, be in Seattle and had an out-of-hospital cardiac arrest with VF, you had about a 40% chance of surviving that arrest. And if you were disadvantaged enough to be in Alabama at the time with the same arrest, you only had about less than an 8% chance of surviving that arrest. Now, this isn't really data or a slide to spotlight EMS or post-resuscitation care, the efficiencies or inefficiencies. It's really just to recognize the fact that cardiac arrest is a treatable event and that not all communities are created equal. And so when you talk about sudden cardiac death prevention, the equation, a successful equation, really isn't complex, but it's not an easy to obtain and move the needle in a positive direction. you really want to, first off, know your numbers out there in the community and where you're really starting, and go, I think it's
I
responsible.
love you.
It's responsible on EMS and post-resuscitation care, but we often have to go beyond what that already is offering in the community and get outside that original EMS and post-resuscitation care. And it's really about finding a champion and developing a spark. And why not that spark come from a community, from the hospital or children's hospital, to go beyond their walls and get into the community and work. And with that champion, you really start developing relationships and alliances and partnerships with other stakeholders in the community, and start the discussion about your numbers. We started our program really with a little boys basketball team that was sponsored by Cardiac Arrest Awareness, and they went out and sold wristbands, and we called them the Shockers. And it really started a conversation in our community. And with those relationships, we were able to identify some community needs, set some goals. We were able to secure some funding. And I think it's essential to really find a story out there of a cardiac arrest survivor. These stories are very unique and powerful, and they're incredible stories, and they're really a testimony to what a AED or CPR and what communities can achieve. And then develop programs, different amount of programs out there in the community to start moving the needle. We settled on Project Adam. At that time, I think we were about the 6th or 7th program across the country. There's currently now 26 programs. It's a national program inspired by a death of a student athlete named Adam Lemmel. All these affiliates are really backed by a medical center, which is really important for the sustainability of a program or a children's hospital. And I think the mirror focus or the mission really stays true with schools and community focused with Project Adam. But even we were definitely looking for a solution and a program out there. And when we found Project Adam, it really was the solution was solved. And it was mostly for the mere fact that there's such a population in U.S. schools across the country. At any given time, it's estimated about 64 million students and staff are on high school campuses or school campuses throughout the country. And it offered us a way to protect a vulnerable population of young adults and student athletes that wasn't being addressed in our area at the time. And then we just naturally assumed that we'd get some additional protection for staff and visitors that were on campus along with those students. And we felt strongly that we were going to be able to utilize these school relationships to really gain a greater benefit, utilizing the buildings and staff, students, and visitors with these alliances that we were going to form. And I think it was really easy to articulate the Project Adam mission to help gain support with our administration. The hospital felt it was a really good program and a solution just because they could expand outside their walls of the hospital, get their cardiology out into the community where we could partnership with the community and have a bigger health benefit. And I think the fundamental footprint of Project Adam really gave us the freedom and discretion to meet other needs of the community with SCA prevention. And we felt strongly that we could use this program to springboard other initiatives around sudden death prevention in our community. And then we would gain a bigger community benefit. And I think one of the best things is really the true spirit of Project Adam really motivates action. I've never talked to anybody out there in our community or throughout our region, once we kind of explained what we were doing, that they didn't want to help. But even with that, we had some naysayers back in the day with our cardiology group and our adult cardiologists that really thought we were barking up the wrong tree and putting our resources out there where it didn't really happen. They thought it was more of an adult problem, and this didn't happen on school campuses. And so we really had to prove it true. And here's a study from John Dresner out of Seattle where it looked at 2149 schools across the country, a 2-year study, and it showed of that there was 59 cardiac arrests on those school campuses within those 2 years. And it ended up being about 1 cardiac arrest per 70 schools each year would have a full-blown cardiac arrest on it. Now, when they compiled the data, they found that mostly these were adults greater than students, and of those students, they were student athletes over non-student athletes. In our local experience in about the 10 years, we had 13 cardiac arrests that we know about and have been intimately involved with these cardiac arrests on school campuses. And of our data, we had definitely more student athletes than students, and but 5 or 6 adults in that area. And we had 11 out of 13 of those that have survived to discharge. But no matter what program you choose, there's some common themes about being successful, and these are promoted by the AHA. And any program really needs to be able to provide the community leadership that offers a consistent resource in the community surrounding sudden cardiac arrest, and at least be at the table in the conversations throughout the community to gain some traction with cardiac arrest prevention out in your community. Then you need to be able to raise awareness about what cardiac arrest is, definitely increase your bystander CPR, and then have a means or a way to implement AED programs or public access defibrillation programs in the community. And I think Project Adam really focuses on the secondary prevention strategies, and these strategies align closely with what the AHA really promotes. And first off, it offers a consistent leadership, all backed by a medical center with physician oversight, and then kind of a boots on the ground type with the coordinators throughout the region and the state. Definitely a consistent resource surrounding not only on and on school campuses, but off school campuses. We get called for a multitude of other areas out there that want to implement some kind of program. I think the awareness piece is a huge piece for the Project Adam program and our program, where we can assist schools to achieve an all staff awareness, where you go into the schools and talk to the staff and make sure everybody's aware of what cardiac arrest really is, how to early recognize cardiac arrest, whether the breathing is agonal or normal, and then talk to people about that a certain percentage has seizure-like activity and not to be confused with seizure activity, and then how to activate their team or their emergency plan within that school and communicate that to get some help. And then not just being a one and done type deal, but go and for an annual review where staff gets more aware of this and gets it repetitive. And I think, excuse me, and then I think it's really important that this is achievable in a school. I don't always think it's reasonable for everybody in a school to be taught CPR, but I think it is reasonable and achievable that everybody's aware of what sudden cardiac arrest is and how to recognize it early. And then I think it's just a simple deal to be able to go into a school and help the school identify different responders or a designated team of responders within that school that are going to be around most of the time, and then give them some extra CPR instruction and make them more familiar and confident about CPR. And then definitely in our program, we have worked hard to implement AEDs, and we have a systematic approach to procuring AEDs for schools or anybody in the community, and then help placing those AEDs out there, and then offering the education surrounding that AED. And I think anytime that you place an AED in the community, you should think about whether you can help or assist schools or a building either manage or keep compliant with that AED or even maintain that AED. And then I think the last important thing is really the practice, the drills, going in and having a mock drill within that school, and then giving that team a little more confidence about how that's going to happen. Because I think it's, if a therapy is deemed useful and beneficial, it's not always guaranteed that therapy is going to be used. And I think that practice really hits home with a lot of schools. So I think in our program, especially, we've generated a lot of community benefit that has been a trickle down and a direct relationship with our Project Adam program here. We've been successful in about purchasing and placing over 200 AEDs in schools and school buildings. And then the trickle down is we've helped a lot of other community entities fulfill that AED and placement. And I think the most interesting one is I just did one in northern Idaho with a logging operation just recently, which I'd never done before. And then CPR, this is just another benefit of the program. And this really isn't having a CPR program out there, but we've trained thousands of individuals in CPR. I think it made it a lot easier when the hands only was promoted, either through our Project Adam program or relationships within the community. And then the awareness piece, I think that you really got to think about how you can bring some life and celebrate some of the successes. And we've had success with just sending letters out to parents throughout the schools. We've got 75 to 100,000 students that walk by AEDs almost every day. We've been successful in 3 senior projects. We started a cardiac arrest survival support group, and we've had 5 or 6 years of that. And then we had 5 or 6 years of survival celebrations where we brought all the cardiac arrest survivors of our community, the EMS, the hospitals, and we did a big awards banquet. And then all those are publicized through different public relations and press releases and news media. And so we get some benefit with that on every one of those. So I think in the end, to move the needle with any program, it takes multiple programs within the community to all come together, and then a cumulative effect, you start getting a positive prevention of death in your community. But I think in the end, you really want sudden cardiac arrest in any location needs fewer bystanders and more lay rescuers. Thank you.